grandchildren and partners, 2 great-grandchildren, local friends, thank you for coming. Friends, some of us have known each other for well over 75 years. Some of us were at boarding school together and still enjoy our friendship. My family was saved by members of Manchester Quakers of equal age. I'm still in touch with their family and their great-granddaughters here today. Your presence helps enormously to make this for me into a very special celebration. You can imagine how I miss my late wife Hannah today. We were married for over 62 years, wonderful years. Perhaps she's watching. I now hand you over to our chairman Stephen, who has come with his lovely wife Eliza and his 5 children. In Jerusalem last April. But before that, we ask his son to come and say a little blessing over the So now I hand over to our chairman, Brother Boy Stephen.
The most important message now is just to enjoy. You can see there's an approximate schedule on the tables, and if I can just be the first person to say, let's give a big hand and thanks to my father. When we were kids growing up, we would always go to, we went to Hayden on a Sunday morning, and every single Sunday morning, Dad would drop us off and go charging off to the Morris Fineman home. I think he did that for about 50 years. To explain a little bit about what happened there and what he was doing, I'd like to welcome the architect, Ron Gonshaw.
So, Mr. Chairman, Rabbi Greg, honoured guests, and Peter, positive in attitude and full of energy and new ideas. It is the dictionary definition of the word dynamic, and it is an adjective which describes Dr. Peter Kurer. Multi-talented, boundless energy. And I'd like to take a few minutes of your time, not specifically to talk about Peter, but to explain his impact on me and how indirectly, possibly directly, he changed my life, really. I could talk about listening to him play the cello in older age, Freemasonry, or participating in a Quaker meeting on a Sunday morning. But as you probably know, the key connection was the Morris Fineman home. We were introduced to each other by Eric Salem, who was advising the home in his capacity as quantity surveyor. And in 1990, I was appointed their architect and worked closely with Peter over the years as we upgraded and developed the building and facilities. What is particularly noteworthy about that time was that it was a collaborative 3-team effort, a happy ship with Peter at the helm. There was involvement and support of the trustees, staff and volunteers giving their time and effort, and it was a joy and a privilege to work with them. Peter was enthusiastic and tireless, and very much hands-on. It was definitely a team effort, collaborating with staff and residents to achieve the best possible results. Over time, we upgraded the Palatine and Fielden wings with comfortable sized rooms, and most importantly, with en-suites. As up to that point, there were only shared bathroom facilities. This was not simply a facelift, a lick of paint here and there, but a complex redesign of structure and services while trying to minimise the loss of bedrooms. Remember that, Peter? What an exercise. The high dependency unit was then developed as there was a need to provide special care for some elderly residents, giving the right sort of support for them and their families. Peter's design brief was that it had to be an integral part of the home while operating securely and independently. It meant that there had to be, excuse me for a minute, restructuring, and it had its own communal areas and dining facilities in an extended space, and it was all to be light and airy, which it certainly was. Now, Mies van der Rohe, I'm sure you've all heard of him, iconic 20th century architect, Gropius movement, Bauhaus movement, it was all at that time, early 20th century. And he famously said that God is in the detail. Great. Meaning that the success of a design is dependent on carefully looking at every aspect of the structure and finish. Peter instinctively took this on board. He was not only interested in the overall design, but also the design and detail of the fittings and finishes, type and design of doors, door furniture, light fittings, etc. For example, we looked carefully at the available products for the assisted bathroom. What would be the best layout and best product for the residents and staff who would be assisting? In designing the rooms, thinking about how they would be used, and if I can give you a very simple example, thinking about the design of rooms, it would be likely, almost certainly a given, that residents would enjoy sitting near their window, enjoying a cup of tea. Perhaps just a simple thing. In which case it was important to think about the design, sill heights of windows. Can I see out of the window while I'm sitting down and having a cup of tea? And in order to facilitate that, it was designed low sills so particularly residents could see out. And it's surprising that even now we can see modern care homes with high sill heights, and unfortunately the residents sitting in windows can't see out, they can only see the radiator or windowsill. Peter's vision was that there should be a campus providing and encouraging independent living with care facilities on hand if needed. The Barfield House development was a key ingredient to the vision and a great achievement. With the Peter Kurer mission statement for the Morris family, home, add life to your years. Remember, Peter, it was the mantra. The adjacent Barfield House site was purchased, design work commenced in the mid-1990s, and with the invaluable expertise of David Siddy, the Barfield House project came together. Peter was very definite as to the brief and the necessity to have high-quality facilities and finishes. It was a privilege to act as architect for the development, seeing it grow and then being occupied. Seemingly, my services did not end when the contract was signed off. The final certificate was issued, the health and safety file handed over to the client, Morris Family Home, who would then take over the day-to-day maintenance and other issues. However, for some reason or other, whenever a Barfield House resident needed assistance, somebody in the home, sitting not very far away from me at the moment, gave them the my telephone. So, it could be a light bulb that needed changing, or on one occasion, an infestation, which may be coming from the woodwork. Never heard of that before. And after I called in a pest control company, it turned out to be an old bag of flour. When I said that Peter and the Morris Feynman homes changed my life, to be honest, I didn't expect to find my future wife in another person's home. But it did happen, and Louise is sitting right there. And thank you for giving up my telephone number. Let's stop now. And now we're together. Thank you, Peter. And to you, Peter, for all the enjoyment and excitement that we had working together over the years. Thank you for changing my life. And most importantly, Mazel Tov, and congratulations to you on being 90 years young, on the publication of your book, and the honour of having been awarded the British Empire Medal. I'd like to propose a toast. It wasn't actually on the racing car, but ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand to your rest, I give you Dr. Peter Kurer on the Morris Feynman Medal.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a brief, we'd just like to welcome Rabbi Greg and his wife Anna, who were here right at the beginning. We're thrilled to have you here, and it's really a shame to not have you here. My father's always had an incredibly close relationship with all the rabbis in our community. Rabbi Kolomat, Rabbi Rubin, all the rabbis here, so it's really a thrill to have you here as well. I've been asked to say, to try and put in 5 minutes over 50 years' worth of my father's contribution to world dentistry. I will do my best. Yes, where do you start? I'd like to start like this. Yosef, my son, said to me a couple of weeks ago, what is it like for someone to lose a tooth? And I think conceptually, although most people in this room weren't around 50, 60 years ago, I know that, but what most people were. It's conceptually very difficult to put ourselves in a situation where 60, 70 years ago, it was completely standard and normative for people to have their teeth taken out. In fact, the joke that wasn't such a joke was that people would get for their 21st birthday their third set of teeth from their grandparents, which was basically a set of dentures. My father's tradition, which he got from his father, is that we are in the business, or rather the profession, of trying to save teeth. And whenever possible, not to take teeth out. Now, that was almost revolutionary in the 1950s and the 1960s. People were taking teeth out left, right, and centre. And even though my grandfather in Vienna was already doing root canals and crowns, that was a relatively new procedure that was being done. There was one problem, is that crowns often came off from the roots that they were attached to. And my father had the idea, based on his work groups from his school in Boothe, of an innovative technique to try and hold the crown by using what was called a post to the teeth. And the contribution that my father really gave to world dentistry was using what was called a thread on a screw, basically a screw that would be threaded into the surface of the root canal inside the tooth to hold the crown predictably and retentively to the root of the tooth. And in that way, we could save teeth. Teeth didn't have to be extracted. Now, it's not a big deal, it really isn't, to have an idea. Most of us have ideas every day of the week. It's a huge thing to actually take that idea test it, to go to the university, to the scientists, to go to the workshops, to try different sizes, to try different threads, to try it on different teeth, and to take an idea and then bring it to fruition in terms of something that can actually be used in a clinical situation. You then have that idea and you publish it in the biggest dental journal at the time, which was the British Dental Journal. Now again, 50, 60 years ago, there weren't many dental journals. Today, almost any Tom, Dick and Harry can get something published in a journal. In those days, there was one journal in British dentistry, which was the British Dental Journal. And my father got his invention peer-reviewed and published in the British Dental Journal. He then, him being him, got it patented, which is all very nice. He had a patent, a lot of work, lawyers had the ambition, the determination, the science behind it to get it patented and manufactured it, and it became marketed in the United Kingdom. And it did pretty well. But you know what? My dad, United Kingdom, it's a relatively small market. So he decided to get the international patents, America, Germany, Japan, many other countries. And then he decided it was time to launch it into the United States of America. Again, not such a simple thing to do. You have to get an agent. And this little Viennese boy, who by that time was speaking English pretty well, managed to get an agent in the United States of America. And they started trying to sell it. But sell it? They couldn't sell it. He went to the largest dental meeting in America, and let's be honest, I'm married to an American, so I can say it. The Americans have the gift of the gab. They can sell anything. The Greater New York Dental Meeting is a massive meeting. There are basically, you have one or two or even three. They're like airplane, what are they called? Airplane hangars with hundreds of booths. Thousands of dentists there. And my father went there and he found out that the agent had managed to sell only 9 kits, one of which they'd given away. Well, New York was about to meet Dr. Peter Kurer. It's a 5-day meeting. In the previous 12 months they had sold 9 kits. Day 1 comes along, he sees what they're doing, he's not happy, he decides to take over. After day 1, he sold 88 kits. After day 2, it was up to 200. To cut a long story short, after 5 days, he had sold 498 kits. And I think it's true to say from that point on, his invention, which was called the Kurer Anchor System, never looked back. It became a huge seller all over the world. It enabled my father to lecture. He was in demand again all over the world. He went to America. He was lecturing at the New York Dental Meeting for over 30 years. He went to Japan for something like 23 years, every single year. And really made a significant change to how dentistry was carried out throughout the world. He introduced this simple technique he learned at school that enabled thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people to maintain their teeth in their mouth without having to have teeth extracted. It came about through his determination, his vision, his dedication, his passion. I might also add, because my mum, who was at home, supporting everything he did and bringing up the kids, also had a tremendous influence. And allowing Dad, my father, to really enjoy and benefit and help benefit the general public throughout the world in doing it. Now, that's one part of my dad's career in dentistry. But throughout, he was also always what was called a wet-fingered dentistry. He loved human beings, he loved people, and he loved treating people. And 39 Deansgate in Manchester was really a by-name in quality dentistry in Manchester. They built a private dental practice with his father, with his brother, with some partners, one of which is here, over many, many years. And that was in the days where basically not only was national health dentistry pretty good, but it was free. This was a private dental office, and they still managed to provide a tremendous private quality service to the population of Manchester. It was probably the largest dental practice in Manchester, but, and this is the point I want to say, there's a table here of his colleagues, the respect his colleagues had for my father, for the way he treated everybody with respect, with dignity, with kindness, with politeness. Those are the things that I, as a son, will always remember and took from him. Now, I went to dental school in London. I mentioned the British Dental Journal before. It's a little intimidating. There was one advert that was always either every edition or every other edition on the back, inside cover of the magazine. There's a huge advert for the Kurer anchor system. Everyone in dental school knew I was a Kurer. I used to go to the library and check out the dental books. And I would always look at the index and look at Kurer. I mean, bottom line, if it didn't have Kurer in the dental books, it wasn't a decent dental book. But that was the influence that my father had. I just want to finish with a couple, one particular quote, which when I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant, I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years. The truth is I've always had a wonderful relationship with my parents, and I thank God every day for that. But in the medical field often people talk about walking on the shoulders of others. I've had mighty, wonderful shoulders to walk on. And for my father, from a professional point of view, my thanks, my appreciation, and from a personal point of view, every day, my love and honour towards my father. Thank you. Might have been aware of a new book that has recently been published. There is no such thing as coincidence. Now the truth is, my father wrote something like 50 dental articles. His first book, which was published in the 70s in a number of languages, also copied into a number of other languages, was the Kurer anchor system. This is his second book. I suspect it won't be his last book either. But to tell us about this book, we're asking Lady Judge Kushner, who will describe a little bit about the genesis of this second book of the series.
Well, good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here. Most of you won't know that I was one of the first children in this community. And in fact, I think my wedding may have been the first one in the new shul, as it now is. So it's very much coming home for me. And so that's a pleasure in itself. But that's not the foremost reason I am here. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Peter's book and how it came about. Peter's book is one of a number that have been produced under a project called My Voice. And this was initiated by the Fed up in North Manchester. And it started when one lady grabbed hold of one of the members of staff and said, I've got to tell you my story when I can, and I've got to say it in the way I want to say it. And from that came the idea of the My Voice project. Now there are various projects around the world where people have told their story of their escape from the Holocaust and setting up a new life in whichever country. But people have sometimes complained the people running those projects have had a certain idea in mind of what they want from the person telling their story. And my voice was particularly insistent that my voice was going to be precisely that. The story was to be told in the way that the narrator wanted it told. And so the way that the fair did it was to set up teams of editors at one end, teams of transcribers in the middle, and at the sharp end, should we say, people who would interview, befriend, support the people who are telling their stories. Now, I needn't tell you that some of the narrators had memories which were sometimes too painful to talk about. Some they had lost a recollection of a lot of it and it had to be teased out. And may I say that there was none of that problem here. There was a very careful, and I told Peter, he said I've got 5 minutes. I said I could cram it into 45 if I cut it down. Anyway, there was a very careful selection process and, as it were, matching of interviewer and narrator and storyteller. And I don't know who chose and thought that I might be suitable for Peter, but all I can say is that they're completely wasted on this project. They should be marriage counsellors and chaplains instead. Because, suffice it to say, we were given strict instructions. We were told that each of the interviews had to last an hour and no longer, because sometimes it would be too much for the storyteller, or alternatively, they may lean too heavily on the interviewer. I was told that there's to be no communication other than through the official channels. Whatever else you do not give your person your phone number or your email, and don't meet them outside the project. So, suffice it to say, our first interview, I think, took 2 hours, and that was after the person introducing us had gone. We immediately exchanged phone numbers and emails, at least after the second interview. We used to start off every session by going for lunch, and then home for tea and Marks and Spencer's biscuits. And we had an uproarious time, at least speaking for myself. And the result of it is this book. And I'm delighted to say that there's a picture of a very handsome little boy on the front. Peter wanted it completely plain at the beginning, and I said, we're not having that. So I prevailed, obviously, where that is concerned. Peter's story is different from many of the others because he came over here when he was 7, and he came with a large number of his family. But his objective has been partly memoir, but altruistic as ever. One of his main objectives was, as ever, to broadcast to as many people who would actually listen or read the participation and contribution of the Friends, the Quakers, in saving so many of our members. That has been part of his life's work. He has been doing Holocaust education in the larger community, not just the Jewish community, outside, for far longer and far earlier than anybody thought of it in the first place. And that has been part of his life work, and this is an extension of it. You will find out more about the inception and development of the Morris Feynman home in this book than you probably, maybe from any other source. Dentistry we've already heard about. And you will learn about his family. thankfully, I mean, it's been a pleasure for me because I see the faces now attached to the names that I've heard of. And they've achieved a bit. I mean, they're a bunch of losers, as you know. They've managed, they've struggled on. So, this probably is one of the biggest of the books that's been produced by my voice. It caused, the project caused such interest that although the Fed retains all the rights to this book, and the copyright and so on, and keeps the records, the tapes, and the interviews, Yad Vashem became very interested in it, and there will be a copy in Yad Vashem as well. Which is just as well because another project that Peter has been trying to promote is to get proper acknowledgement in Yad Vashem for the work that the friends have done over the years. So it has been my honour and my pleasure to have this relationship with Peter. I'm glad that there is something physical to show for it. Otherwise, we'll just have to rely on lunch, won't we? And tea and biscuits hereafter. Thank you very much.
I would like to introduce the ever-youthful, my oldest sister, Judith Prinsley.
Well, hello. It's really been lovely saying hello to everybody. And nobody has changed, have they? No. Recognised everyone. My dad, ages ago, said to me, well, would you like to sing in front of everybody? And let me just put this into context. Normally, historically, we would have a sing-song, Friday night, or maybe a weekend, and it was round the dining room table. It was not in front of lots of people. So I wanted to say N-O, but as you know with my father, does that word exist? No. So, here we are, and I'm going to sing a couple of songs. And the first one, and first of all, thank you very much, June, because June has been helping me practice. We've had a lot of fun. My dad's been advising us on a few things, which has been even more humorous, but very helpful, very helpful. So the first song that I'm going to sing is Yesterday, which is a Beatles song. So I think most people will know that. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. yesterday. Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Yellow. There we go. Coincidences. So in this very small song, I've put in a few references that we associate with my father. So one of them is, if I say to Dad, "How are you feeling?" He says, "How can I be? I feel blessed." That is a phrase we think of. And also, partly because I think the Kurer family had to leave, like lots of other families here, in a very short time, he's very keen on family together. But my father doesn't say family together in that sort of tone. He goes, family together, with enormous enthusiasm and, need I say, energy. So that is very much one of the phrases that we all think of. Now, if it wasn't talking of families, for Mary and Horatio Goodwin, who are a Quaker family, and we've actually got their great-granddaughter, Wendy, over here. None of us, Wendy, we would not be here today. So in 1938, in June, Dad's family, including our Auntie Mary, and it is beyond lovely to have you, Mary, there, and David. But no, Mary, actually, you weren't thought of then. But you would have thought subsequently. But the fact is, it's particularly wonderful because we're all particularly close to my Auntie Mary, and I must leave out Uncle David, because they're very much a partnership. So, if it wasn't for the Goodwins, we wouldn't be here today, because you had to have somebody who would be a guarantor, and that was Mary and Horatio Goodwin. And in fact, there's quite a lot, rightly so, about your family in the book and your selflessness of Mary and Horatio Goodwin. So, it's amazing to me. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Grandson, Rafi Cohen.
I was hoping for a little bit of a gap, because it's very hard to follow Auntie Julie. That was brilliant. So this part of the proceedings was supposed to be given by someone else, the High Sheriff of Manchester, but he wasn't able to join, and in some way that's fortuitous, because we're able to share from the grandchildren's point of view, and there were 13 of us, just how proud we are of Grandpa. So every time we see Grandpa, he makes us all know how loved we are and how proud of us he is, or tells us he is of us, no matter what we've done. And I think this is a really nice opportunity to say from all 13 of us grandchildren that we're really proud of Grandpa. That we love you very much, more than probably you'll ever realise. And your kind of love and dynamism and the importance you put on having the family together is really something that enables and facilitates the wonderful weekend we've had as a family together, having all the grandchildren together on Friday night yesterday for what was a really special day, and one that I'm sure we'll remember for a long time. I thought it was fitting actually that, I'm the oldest grandchild and I might be speaking, but I thought it would be good if between the oldest and the youngest grandchild, we gave you this medal together. So I'm going to ask Racheli to come up as well. And I'd also like to read a very nice letter that the High Sheriff of Manchester shared with Grandpa. He wasn't able to be here because his first grandchild was born a short time ago. It's Brick Millar today. So we can give him a little bit of leniency for not being here. But he wrote a very nice message which I'd like to share with you now. He said to Grandpa, "When I presented you with your BEM, it was a great privilege and joy for me to do so. You were so hospitable and so thrilled to be receiving it. I felt quite humbled by your reaction, and indeed that you had invited me to be at your special event. We also celebrate your 90th birthday, which is on the 22nd of April. You are so sprightly and on the ball, it is quite hard to believe that you're in fact 90. You look amazing. And for anyone that saw Grandpa playing football yesterday, won't be surprised. And then, of course, we have the publication of your My Voice book, which in itself is quite an extraordinary piece of work. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you all at the lunch, but I send you my very best wishes and respect on behalf of the Lieutenancy of Greater Manchester, and also as the new chair of the Jewish Representative Council of Greater Manchester Region. So I'll ask Grandpa to stand. I will present him with his BEM medal. Just before we pass over to Grandpa, I think it's a good idea that we do a toast to Grandpa, his multiple achievements of reaching the age of 90 in such a way, in writing his book and in achieving this this medal. So if you have a glass that's full, please raise it, and I would like to propose a toast to who we know as Grandpa.
Well, you'll be able to understand if I can only say thank you, Rafi Cohen, and Kelly. Rafi has just given me my British Empire Medal, which Her Majesty the Queen awarded me over a year ago. Thank you, Rafi. I was awarded this medal, as I understand it, for my contribution to Holocaust education. I have been giving presentations on what the Quakers did for the Jews of Nazi Europe for over 40 years. And my last presentation was last Wednesday in Glossop. One of the many good luck occurrences of my life was my accepting an invitation to work as a volunteering dentist in the DVI clinic in Jerusalem, a clinic for poor children of all religions. I volunteered 3 times per year, 2 weeks each time, for 11 years. They gave us a lovely apartment in the middle of Jerusalem. It enabled me to see my Israeli grandchildren grow up over 11 years, 3 times a year. On my second visit, I went to Yad Vashem and wanted to see what they had on what the Quakers did for Jews of Nazi Europe. Yad Vashem had nothing. I did a thesis for Yad Vashem. It took me 2 years. Yad Vashem did not like it. I did a second thesis, which I called The Missing Chapter. After 3 months, Yad Vashem informed me, we like this, but we do not like a historic document written and signed by a dentist. Understandable. I took advice, and several people advised me, if Yad Vashem likes the thesis, but they don't like the historic document written by a dentist, see if you can find a historian prepared to sign your thesis. I was given a list of 5 very famous British historians to whom I sent my missing chapter, hoping that one of the 5 might be prepared to sign it. Each of the 5 said they were prepared to sign my thesis. These 5 knew each other. They decided which one would sign. The other 4 all added a paragraph, and Yad Vashem accepted my missing chapter. The whole thing took 7 years. This is, of course, all in my book. I believe that my work on the Quakers was my contribution to Holocaust education. If I had not accepted the invitation to work as a dental volunteer in the dental clinic in Jerusalem, I would not have gone to Yad Vashem and probably not been awarded the British Empire Medal. This triple celebration has been, as you can imagine, a special occasion for me. It is you, my guests, who made this celebration possible. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you, and please all stay well. Thank you. For me to have my 4 children, 30 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and visitors of whom I've known such a long, long time here today, and for all they have brought with them, it's a big, big thank you for each and every one. Thank you all very, very much. It's been an occasion, as you might imagine, I'm unlikely to forget. Thank you.
And just before we start the benching, a big thank you to my siblings. We've worked very, very hard on this, all had their part to play. Judith has organised my father, which is no mean feat. Susan has organised the catering, and I think you'll all agree it's been absolutely fantastic. He's organised getting his wife and 5 children, 50,000 tests, visas, flights. In fact, they haven't even got return flights yet because they don't know what the latest things are. And, well, you know, one of my father's mottos that you all know about and probably reflects me is, if at first you don't succeed, try, and try again. So believe it or not, I was also a dentist. I was the one that escaped and changed my career, so I'm still quite normal. But a big, big thank you to all. Stephen, you've done a brilliant job, as always. He's always asked to be Master of Ceremonies, and we know why. And thank you all very much. We wish you all safe journeys back home, wherever you've come from. And we're going to have benching. So thank you for all. Dad's got to have his last word. Just one big thank you. Obviously, the person we miss more than anybody today, who you all know, is Mum. And if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have been brought up because Dad was busy travelling the world. And she was, as you all know, a very, very special person. She was introvert to Dad's extrovert. But she was a very, very wise woman, and she spoke a lot of common sense, and we all live with a lot of her words in our ears every day of our lives. So thank you to my mum, who we all miss but remember very, very fondly. And now, so that my father can have the last word.
I just need 1 minute for a photograph to be taken for a magazine for the old scholars in the far corner.
Okay.
It was an interesting
Fiat